Hey everyone, I'm Matt Dolan with Dolan Divorce Lawyers in Connecticut, and today what I'm going to talk about are certain types of pensions that receive special treatment in a divorce case. The most common ones are teacher's pension and railroad pensions, so Amtrak workers or Metro North workers here in Connecticut. And what's special about these types of pensions are the fact that the individuals who are receiving these pensions, they don't pay into Social Security. So when it comes time for them to retire, if they've worked on the railroad or they've been teachers their whole lives and they didn't pay sufficiently into Social Security, they will not receive a Social Security benefit. They will only receive their pension. And why this is important is it comes down to when you're valuing these pensions. So often in a divorce case, we're valuing retirement assets. So there's 401ks that have a specific balance or 403b, things like that, where there's a set amount of money in a cash account, essentially. Pensions are different in that there is a monthly benefit that one receives upon retirement. So you can't just look at the account and see what the current balance is. So what you have to do is you have to bring in an actuary to look at, okay, here's the monthly benefit they stand to receive upon retirement, and they'll also look at actuary tables that calculate the average life expectancy of certain individuals. So they will do a complicated calculation to come up with a present day value of the pension account. Obviously, it's not exact. It's based on life expectancy, etc. It's an estimated present value. So in a situation where somebody has a teacher's pension or a railroad pension, which is in lieu of Social Security, it's only fair to value that account if you're also going to value everybody's Social Security, their Social Security entitlement as well, because it's not fair to value a wife's teacher's pension and say, okay, that's a $250,000 asset, and just ignore the husband's Social Security benefit. You also need to come up with the present value of the husband's Social Security benefit, which you can also do through an actuary, to kind of compare the present value of the two assets in figuring out how you are going to divide up the total assets. Generally, in a divorce case, you need to figure out how to divide assets. Maybe you're dividing everything 50-50, maybe not, but you need to know the present value of all of the assets that are involved. Now, there are certain scenarios in which somebody could be entitled to both their teachers or railroad pension and a Social Security benefit. The most common examples are if somebody, they paid sufficiently into Social Security through other employment before they became a teacher or worked for the railroad. But you do need to be aware of the fact that, that Social Security benefit could be reduced at the time of retirement through what's called the windfall elimination provision. So you'll want to make sure the actuary is aware of that in calculating the present value, or that's taken into consideration. And you also might be entitled to both your teacher or railroad pension as well as a Social Security benefit if you're entitled to a spousal benefit from your spouse. So generally speaking, if you're married for at least 10 years, you're entitled to 50% of the Social Security benefit of your spouse. And it's a little bit more complicated than that. But that spousal benefit or widow's benefit, in the case of divorce, usually it's going to be a spousal benefit, that will also be reduced most likely at the time of retirement if you're entitled to a teacher's pension or railroad pension through what's called a government pension offset. So those are, some things that you need to be aware of as far as reductions in Social Security benefit. But the gist of this video, and the most important thing you need to know, is that if you are valuing a teacher's pension and a railroad pension of one of the parties in a divorce case, you need to compare it to the Social Security benefits of both parties. Usually it's just going to be the Social Security benefit of the other party, but you also will want to take into consideration the Social Security benefit of the person who is receiving the teacher's pension or railroad pension. If they have that additional Social Security benefit, you'll want to take that into consideration. There are certain other pensions that don't pay into Social Security, but in Connecticut, the most common ones are the teacher's pension and the railroad pension. But whenever you're valuing a pension, you're going to double check to make sure that the person who is receiving the pension, you need to check into whether or not they also paid into Social Security. So that's the gist of what you need to be aware of with teacher's pension and railroad pensions in the context of divorce here in Connecticut. As usual, if you have any additional questions or you're looking for representation in a family law case, please don't hesitate to contact our office.